Hey, welcome back. This time we want to talk about who needs extended stay rentals, and then I want to give you an overview of the extended stay rental industry. So who needs extended stays is these people, the traveling workforce, the new mobile workforce that's growing and exploding. We'll talk about who they are. Travelers who are doing it for enjoyment and because they have to. Those are my three categories that I like to serve who are doing extended stays. Let's talk about who they are. These are medical professionals. Most people think about traveling nurses when they think about extended stay rentals. Traveling doctors, there's physical therapists, there's also people doing speech, and there's all kinds of things like that. So there's plenty of those guys traveling around. And IT professionals, every time you set up a new grocery store, a new high-rise, there's all these IT professionals need to come and set up computers and controllers and systems like that. So they're out for extended periods of time as well. I used to oversee bridge construction, so I had to go to the bridge and wherever it was and stay there for 10 months or so as we got this thing up and going. So consultants and engineers and project managers are on site for extended period of time, so they're great guests to have. Number 4, lobbyists. Of course, if there's a bill being passed, this lobbyist goes out to site and they wine and dine people, and they're on site for an extended period of time. It's part of politics. Now here's a category of people who are in extended stays not because they're having a party or because there's enjoyment. They're doing it because they have to strategically. So they're not a professional, they're paying out of pocket, unlike these other professionals that we were talking about before. These guys are paying out of their own pocket because they have to. If you're waiting for your home to be built and you just sold your old house and you're in between, well, extended stay rentals are less expensive than a hotel, motel. So it's a strategic place to stay. So number 5 is people waiting for their new home to be built. All right, number 6 is international people, international business travelers and students. They're only here for a little bit of time and they can't stay in a hotel for that time. It's just it's cost prohibitive, it's too expensive, so they're going to be looking for an extended stay rental. And here we go. This category again is people paying out of pocket, and not because they want to. They're in town for a prolonged time because they have to be, and that's families, hospitalized patients, maybe a transplant, a hip replacement, or something like that. Okay, they're great extended stay travelers. People have been displaced by floods. They're looking for extended stay rentals. Actually, the insurance company is, and in this case, those families are being put up by these insurance companies, and they're willing to pay quite a bit so that their kids can stay in the same school district, and they have other similar accommodations to what they were displaced from. So they're good too. Employees of corporate training programs, that's typical corporate housing or a business rents your place, and that's what you expect. If there's a training program, people come in every 3 months or every 3 weeks or so. If you can get a longer term contract with that business directly, then that is pure corporate housing. It's a great place to be. Military travels and their families travel with them, and that's furnished housing. So the military is always looking for furnished rentals. I'll give you some tips on that later. But yeah, absolutely. Lottery machine technicians. Yeah, I had those guys came and they stayed at one of my places, and they serviced a lot of lottery machines in the area. Absolutely. They're there for a couple months at a time. Political organizers and campaigners, they're looking for an extended rental. Sometimes they send a couple of a team ahead, and that team hires people locally, and they run a campaign. So that's how it works. They use your furnished rental as their headquarters oftentimes instead of getting office space. Interns, a lot of summer interns, especially nearby in the Silicon Valley, they're there for 3 months at a time. Theater performers, coming in number 14. These guys are there for the whole season. They go from New York to LA to Ashland, Oregon for different plays and things like that, they're looking for furnished rentals during the time of their play. And athletes coming in for different training sessions, they're looking for furnished rentals. They often may live in one city, but they're working in a different city, right? So they move their whole family down for a temporary period of time, and they get a house that can house their family, but they don't sell their home, and they go back to their home when the season's over or off season. So professional athletes, absolutely. People doing finance, if you're doing a prolonged in-depth audit, people come out, or CPAs will come out in teams. They need furnished rentals. Construction workers doing different projects, absolutely. Those projects can last between 3 and 10 months, or a year. They need furnished rentals. Insurance-related professionals, like if there's a natural disaster, these adjusters come for a prolonged period of time. They're working on different caseloads. They need to be there to assess the damage. So if there's a whole city gets knocked out for some type of natural disaster, an appraiser will come out and they need a extended stay rental. Now here is a different category. This is a person who's paying out of pocket and doing it because they're for a lifestyle. Some people rent their homes that they own on Airbnb, and then they go and travel and they stay at places for extended period of time at other different Airbnbs or different furnished rentals. So that is a category of doing that. People doing traveling for lifestyle. And this is a new one for me. A guy from FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, is in town. He's been in town for 6 months, so I'm including him. People of FEMA for disasters, they come out and they work for extended period of time. So those are my 20 list of people. Kind of gives you an idea of the size and the variety of people that you could be serving. It's far more than furnished. It's far more than travel nurses. That's what I want to get through to you. There's lots of people, far more than on this list. But I just want to give you a little idea who it is. Okay, the next thing I want to talk to you about is giving you an overview of the extended stay rental industry. Who are the players? Who should you be looking at? And kind of how they stack against each other. Okay, so I'm going to build this treasure map for you. Something that you can do for your locally. I'm going to do it nationwide, but you can do this locally and get an idea of how things are going. So here's the map we're going to do. Here's the frame that we're going to be working in here. We're going to have the average daily rate going on this vertical axis. So you can find this by looking at your local extended stay hotel, find out what their rates are, and this is the axis that's going to go on. Now here on this what I'm marking here is where the typical cost for 1 month at a one bed, one bath in the United States is about $1,500 a month. That's what the national average is according to Extended Stay America. Now you divide that by 30 or 31 or even so you find how many days per month, and then you're able to get a daily rate. So that's where I am coming in. It's about $50 a day for housing. When I'm doing my own research, I came up with that the average national cost per month for a one bed, one bath is $1,080 per month. So this is my own line down here. It's coming in about $30 per day or $35 per day for housing. So this is interesting to compare what these furnished rentals are compared to an unfurnished apartment. So that's what I'm trying to do here. Now this axis down below, this is our x-axis. This is how many stars the hotel has. Sometimes there's a really lousy hotel, and it might be a one-star hotel, and then there's a really great hotel. It's like the Ritz-Carlton with lots of customer service. They're a 5-star hotel. So this is everything in between on the ranking system. So our first extended stay hotel that we want to place on this graph is In-Town Suites. We see that they come in at 3.2 stars, and look at, there's a range. They may go out to 3.1 and 3.3. They get that type of score. And their pricing, look at that, is about $25 per night all the way up to about $45 per night. That's why that bubble, that's what that represents. And that's what you're going to want to do in your area. You're going to want to find your whatever extended stay hotel that you have, and then you want to kind of see how many stars there are, plot it on this graph, and then try to get a grip on their nightly rate. Next one up is Wood Springs Suites, and it's in there, right in there where the national average is. You see that for housing. It's right in there. It's a little bit higher customer service. People think of it a little bit more classy. So that's where it is right there. Again, the same range in prices. Prices fluctuate, and same with people's opinions. So, but it's hovering around 3.4 in 3.4 stars. Okay. Next one up is Suburban. I was surprised by this because I really didn't think Suburban was about a 3.5 star hotel. I didn't think that at all. But this price range nationally, look at that, is about $70 to $55. Okay, that's where it is. That's where it's plotting out. Extended Stay America is right there. They're always positioning themselves for government workers that are on a government has a government housing allowance, and I'm going to talk to you about that later in a different module. But that's where they are. They got coming in about 3.6 stars, and their prices range between like 82 to down to $42. So it's a big range in pricing. That's kind of where they position themselves. These guys are the people that go up against. This is who I compete against. And you'll see them all over. They're the largest extended stay hotel chain in the United States. And then Motel 6 also does longer term stays, and they're coming in right at the national average. I was really surprised that they would be at 3.7 stars, but that's where this research placed them at, right there. Hawthorne Suites. Hawthorne is a resort brand, is considered a luxury brand, and they're coming in about 3.7 stars right there, a little bit less than $100 a night. That's kind of where they're positioning themselves. Candlewood Suites is another national brand. They're coming in at 4.2 stars. It's really considered higher end customer service. They may be offering breakfasts and different things like that, different perks, and it looks like they're a little bit less than $100, a little bit more than $80 per night. Mainstay Suites is kind of exactly right there, positioning right against Candlewood Suites. They're competing right against them. Town Place Suites is a Marriott product, and is kind of the version, this is the lower end for Marriott extended stay hotel. So they got kitchenettes in there, and they're trying to position themselves a little bit above Extended Stay America. So, and they're coming in about 4.3 stars, and their price higher. Home 2 Suites is a Hilton product. Came up with this product in response to Airbnb. It's about 4.4 stars. They're going after a younger demographic. They like Gen Y, Gen X people. That's who they're kind of positioning themselves for, and they got a higher price point. Homewood Suites is Hilton's higher end product. So Home 2 Suites is their lower end use. Homewood Suites is their baby boomer product for extended stays, and they're right there at 4.4 stars. Residence Inn is the original extended stay hotel. Came out in the 70s. It's a Marriott product, and they're considered a higher end hotel with a kitchenette in it. Very nice. And then Hyatt House came in play. They position themselves at the highest end in the spectrum. Okay, Hyatt House wants to be the most luxurious brand of the extended stay industry. So that's how it looks. Do you see that gap there? This is what's interesting. That gap right there, around between 3.8 and 4 stars right there, and at the luxury brand around $100 a night. That's a big opening. That's where a big opportunity is. Extended Stay America in 2021, their report came out that says they're going to try to put a product there because they see an opportunity there. And the same type of thinking is what you want to do. You want to say, what kind of gap is there? You want to plot out your local extended stays and say, how do I position? Where should I price? That's where you want to start off asking. Okay, so Extended Stay America's plans is right now they have one brand, Extended Stay America Suites. They're going to come up with a more luxurious brand. It's going to be Extended Stay America Premier Suites, and that's what it's going to look like. And they're saying those suites, what some things that they're going to have on is they're going after diverse married business travelers. So that's kind of some research. They're thinking about people who are married, and they're married meaning they're going to go back home. They're not going to try to stay. And some people who are in finance, we talked about this, insurance, construction, technology, they are not going after healthcare workers. That's why I'm showing you this. They are not going after healthcare workers. They're not going after travel nurses for the premier suites. Their average is 17 nights, they're saying, average length, which means there's a lot of stays longer than 17 nights, and there's a lot of stays that are less than 17 nights. So that's their average. So we, for extended stay rentals, you want to go after the ones that are longer. You want to compete against that. Okay? And they also say they're looking for people who are easygoing, because as a higher you go, the more people will give you white glove inspections and nitpick you. So they're going after easygoing people. And this is what their product looks like. We can learn a lot from looking at this, is that they're going after the gray and white themes and some natural woods. Okay, that's their signature bidding. They're trying to go for high-end fabrics for their bidding. Luxury fabrics, larger TVs. Of course, we should be doing that. Our standard is like 40 inches is the smallest. We like larger ones in our places now. And they have a little separation, a little wall I showed you there in red, that give a little separation between the kitchen and the living space, the bedroom. Okay, because they're trying to come up with a apartment type of feel. They're trying to create a watered down apartment. That's what they're trying to do, so that they can compete against you. They know if once we create a furnished apartment, there's no chance. They can't compete against that. So they're doing what they can to create separations. That's what people want. And then the last bullet is they're adding storage. So make sure that you always have some storage solutions in your furnished rentals. Think about where I can put storage, or label some storage areas, or talk about storage in your listings. Those things are important. Okay, let's summarize this. The mobile workforce is much larger than travel nurses. I was trying to drive that home. You don't want to limit your imagination. You may come here thinking about this. I want to serve medical professionals. I want to serve medical professionals. I'm hoping to open this up to you. There's lots of opportunities, lots more than I have here listed. They have different needs. Some are traveling for pleasure. A lot of them are traveling because they don't want to, and a lot of them traveling because they have to for work. And the second point is there's a growing demand and opportunity for mid-luxury extended stay housing. That's what I was showing you here. You want to plot out your local extended stay hotels, kind of like this, and then you want to look for the opportunities so that you know how you're competing against them. Right? You don't want to compete against everybody. You want to compete against the ones in your town. You want to know their review scores and their pricing, and figure out how you're going to price against it. Again, we're going after month-long stays, so you want to have that in mind. Okay, those are the two things. Now, if you haven't reached out to me to say hi, let's do that. Let's hop on a quick call. I'm interested in helping you get going.